boxing magazine, which I still have. It's upstairs in my room, and it had a picture of them together. And I remember it was talking about how they trained by outside in the next to the gym. They would run up and down the staircase it was like an old firehouse, and so I knew exactly who they were. So they called me. Yvonne Michelle actually put the show on, but Bob Miller, who just passed away a couple months ago, called us like on 3 days before the fight, and he said Ireland is fighting against Canada, but something happened to the Irish middleweight, and they need preferably an Irish middleweight, to go fight Otis Grant on Saturday. And so we got in the car the next day, and we drove up, and we fought Otis. And after, we talked, and everything was fine, and we both turned pro very soon after, like within a few months. And somehow Russ and my manager, my promoter, got connected, and they used to come down and fight on the shows when we would fight in Hartford. And Otis, I remember one fight, he was a middleweight, and he knocked out a guy who weighed like 203 pounds. And the guy, he was a big cruiserweight, Stokely Critchlow. Yeah. And his brother Howard decimated like two very good local fighters, and he ruined both of them. And so then when Otis started climbing the ranks as a pro, Russ got in touch with me, and I started going up to Montreal very frequently and sparring with Otis Grant for his big fights.
And it became just normal that we had a fight coming up. Scully was coming to camp. It doesn't matter where it was. He would come to camp. He was our only sparring partner for Otis's world title fight in the UK. We trained in London for 7 weeks, and he came and trained with us and stayed there, and we stayed in London and boxed in Sheffield and won the title there.
Yeah, 1997.
Oh man! So, Russ, both. I'm thinking between the two of you guys, I got about a century of boxing experience here.
Right, no doubt.
Yeah, and with the people we know and the people we've spoken to, there might be more than a century's worth of knowledge. The one thing we always, the one thing we always loved doing was talking to fight people, and we were always back in those days. You'd make a 3-way call on your landline, and so we'd always hook up and say, "Oh, call this guy," and we'd be on a call, and then we'd call somebody else and join them in on the call. Vinnie Curto, Roy Hamilton. We had different guys, and we would just talk boxing incessantly, and strategies, and how we would fight guys, and different things, and what fighters were doing, and who would win. And so we've shared a lot over the years, and we've remained great friends.
Russ, what first got you in the squared circle?
I think the Montreal Olympics in '76 was the first thing that kind of got me excited about boxing. Now, prior to that, my father had always talked to me about listening to Joe Louis fights, talking about Joe Louis fights, right? But that was sort of in passing. Then when I was 10 years old, the Ali Fraser fight happened. So that really just kind of gave me a taste of boxing. But the '76 Olympics is really what brought it home, because it was every fight was on TV. Howard Cosell was calling the fights. It was here in Montreal. Leonard had his girlfriend's sock picture taped to his sock. Howard Davis's mother had just died. I mean, there was just these fantastic stories. And like as a 15-year-old, you think, wow, this is so cool and this is great. And, it was such a powerful team in '76, arguably the best ever that the U.S. has ever produced. And we got to see it all, every fight with every guy. And, later that year, the Rocky movie came out, and I started talking to a teacher at school about boxing, and he started training me. And that's how I started learning about boxing. And later I had the fortune, and I always give credit to this guy, and Scully met him. His name is Vinnie Curto. And Vinnie Curto was a pro middleweight, ranked in the world, that fought for the world title. Great fighter. And he gave me the belief and conviction that I could be a trainer. And I started working with him. And before my 19th birthday, I worked my first pro fight was an 8-rounder with Vinny. Second one was a month later, was the main event in front of 10,000 people. And I was in the corner. I wasn't yet 19 years old. So that was
who did he fight in that fight?
In the 8-rounder, he fought Marciano Bernardi from Paterson, New Jersey. Marciano Bernardi, good fighter. And then he fought Eddie Mello in the main event.
Wow, that's what I thought.
1979.
Wow, okay.
Man, yeah, it kind of overwhelms me there, Russ. You're talking about being a 15-year-old in 1976, and I'm thinking, 1976, I was almost 30, but but it's very interesting how even though it's a large world, the boxing world is very condensed, and greatness kind of follows greatness. So to see you and Scully have that type of relationship, is nothing new. But tell me, how did you make the transition, Russ, from trainer to cutman?
That's actually a very good question, James. To me, there was never a transition, because when I started as a trainer in 1979, the first thing I did was go out and buy like a barber's kit, like where you carry your toiletries in. And I bought a scissor, and I bought Vaseline, and I bought gauze rolls, and I bought gauze pads, and I got the doctor to give me some adrenaline, and I made Q-tips. I still make my Q-tips the same way to this day. You were a cut man. Like when you were a trainer, that was part of what you learned in being a trainer, was to be a cut man. And if you go back in the day, Angelo Dundee, they said he was a trainer, but he was the cut man. That's what you did. It wasn't such a specialized field as it is now. So it was just normal for me. And when I decided to end my relationship with David Lemieux, training him, I figured my babysitting days were over. I just couldn't keep. I had been doing this since I'm 18 years old, going to the gym every day except for Christmas, every day, 5 days a week. 5:30, I'm in the gym training fighters, amateurs, pros, traveling all over, driving those shows that Scully was talking about. We would drive down for $400. That included the gas money. That included, So I was just,
hey, but gas was only 28 cents a gallon then.
Right? You're right. Yeah. Philadelphia was still just as far. It wasn't closer. We would just do it. And when the Lemieux thing ended, Scully just prior to that had brought me in a few times with Chad Dawson, with what's the name of the other kid, Scully, that fought Jeff Lacey? Scott
Pemberton.
Scott Pemberton had brought me in with some guys. Says, Russ, would you come in and be the cut man? So I did that. And so I was doing that kind of on the side whenever Scully would get me work. But the big breakthrough came in 2004, 2005, when Mark Ramsey and his team were training at my gym. And at the time, he had Jean Pascal and Antonin Decari. And they were training at my gym, getting ready for the Olympics. And when they turned pro, he offered me the position of cutman. And I think Mark kind of had a sense in like seeing that, okay, I'm getting a cutman, but I'm also getting a trainer in the deal as well. And I didn't have the responsibility of the training. I had the brains to give out the information that I wanted. And I could just do the cutman job for Mark and help Mark out. And that's really how it got started for me.
Scully, how did you guys join together for Team Beterbiev?
Okay. Can you hear me? I just lost you guys for a minute.
Yeah, we got it.
We got you back. How did you guys get together for Team Beterbiev?
if he can't answer now, I can answer that, James.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead, Russ.
Scully, are you there?
He might have to go off and go back on, but go ahead, Russ.
So I had told Scully, I said, Scully, you got to see this kid Mark's got up here. I mean, this guy is just, he's incredible, man. I mean, he's blasting everybody out. He's a great fighter. Wait till you see him. Scully had never heard of him. And when Beterbiev signed to fight Tavoris Cloud, Scully said Beterbiev, I think, had 4 fights at the time, maybe 5. And he was fighting Tavoris Cloud. And Scully called me and said, Russ, are you crazy? You're for this guy? I said, Scully, I'm telling you, this kid, he's going to blast him out of there. I said, this guy is exceptional. And sure enough, he did. And a little while later, Scully will have to give you the exact timeline, but a little while later, Mark Ramsey asked me, he said, Russ, I want to bring in somebody else, you know, a different perspective. What do you think if I bring in Scully? And I said, Mark, that would be the best decision you could make, not only for Scully's knowledge, but really because there was no egos coming into camp, you know, whether it be myself, Mark, Scully, we trust each other. We're not there trying to steal each other's fighter. We're not trying to steal the limelight. You know, we're just trying to do the best we can for the fighter. And I said, Scully would be the perfect guy. He brings up a plethora of knowledge, and he'll never challenge your position as the head coach and the guy who calls the shots. Now, how much of that did you hear, Scully?
Just when you said, I have a plethora of knowledge.
Good. No, he was asking. I said that, you know, I had told you about Beterbiev before he even started. I told you this kid's unlike anything I had ever seen before. And when he was signed to fight Tavoris Cloud, you said, are you crazy? Are you fighting Tavoris Cloud? It was like his 4th or 5th fight, right?
Yeah.
I said, yeah. And he said he's going to get him out of there. And he did. And then a little while later, I'm not sure how much later, Mark reached out to you.
Right. Yep.
Now, at the time you guys are talking about, like, Kovalev's the scourge, right? I mean, you know, he's knocking everything out in that division, right?
Yeah.
So even then you saw, you know, Arthur as you know, like at the stage that he is now.
Well, I'll tell you what happened when the Cloud fight came up, because Russ called me out of the blue and he's like, oh, you got to see this guy. This guy's unbelievable. He's just a phenomenon. And I look him up and I go, man, he only had like 5 or 6 fights at the time. And I see he's fighting Tavoris Cloud, and Cloud had just like lost the title to Hopkins like 6 months earlier. And I'm like, Russ, I mean, you know, it's kind of a jump. And I'll never forget, Russ was like, Scully, trust me, he's going to be fine. And I went, okay. And he was fine. And when they, and it's a funny thing, when they originally called me to go up, and Russ had put the word in, and so they called me to go, and you know, I was wondering, like, how's it gonna work? You know, an American guy, he doesn't know me, and you know, and but literally from the first day of hitting the pads together, you know, we hit it off, and everything's been great ever since.
Yeah.
Hey, Scully, you know, Emmanuel used to always talk about, you know, like how it is, like hitting the pads with these guys, and you know, getting in there sparring with them. What's it like sparring with Arthur?
Well, I don't know. I don't know. Well, you know what? I'll tell you a funny story. I just told somebody the other day. If you know Bob Middleman is a boxing guy. He's an insider and all that. So I didn't really know a lot about Arthur, but everybody knows I spar with guys, and so I was getting ready to go to camp, and just out of the blue, Bob Middleman called me, and so what are you up to? And I said I'm getting ready to go up there with Beterbiev in Montreal, and the first thing he said, almost in a panic, he goes, "You're not gonna spar with him, are you?" And right away I went, for him to be that concerned, there must be a reason. So I said, no, I'm not. and then after I talked to the guys who do spar with him, I understand, because they're all, like I say, I always tell the story. I don't want to name the fighter, but he's a good fighter. He's a very capable fighter. And he was sparring with Arthur. And every day I can see he just hates it. He just hates it, right? He can't wait to go home. And one day he got hit with a shot, and it didn't look like a big shot. He didn't wobble or anything. Arthur didn't load up, but he caught him clean. And he stepped back and he put his hands down and he waited a couple seconds, like to gather himself. And he goes, "This can't be good for me." And I've never seen that. I've been in the gyms for 40 years. I've never seen that happen. So right then I say, yeah, Arthur's not a guy I'm going to be with. Because I used to spar with Tad Dawson.
Well, I know that.
I spar with all the guys.
That's why I ask you, because usually, when you come on, I sparred with so and so.
I've sparred with every fighter I've ever worked with, except for Artur Beterbiev. He's the only one.
I guess that
the other favorite story. I don't know if you, Scully, if you want to mention the guy's name. I always forget, anyways. But we had a guy working, and Scully's taking care of the sparring partners, and guys working. And now this guy had been in with everybody, heavyweights, amateurs, pros. I mean, this guy'd been in with everybody. And he does the first round. The bell rings. It ends. He comes back to the corner. He puts his hands up on the ropes, turns to Scully and says, "Well, that was different."
Yeah. Well, what happened was I picked him up the first day, and I always tell the guys, I go, "Listen, don't be a hero, okay? Just get in and work. Stay off the ropes. Stay out of the corner." So he's telling me like, "Oh, no, I'm good." Because he's much bigger than Arthur. And he's like, I sparred with this guy, and I fought this guy, and I had this fight. And I said, "All right, okay, you're going to find out." And he goes in, he spars one round, and he comes back the corner, just like Russ said. He's like, "Well, that was different." And I didn't have to say anything else to him. He got the message loud and clear. Yeah.
Oh, man. Now, another thing I kind of noticed, and I'm going to, kind of let you guys go as quick as I can, but I noticed that Arthur has seemed to pick up a jab there, Scully.
Yes, sir.
Did you go by the Pawn Stars? I mean, what happened there? Usually, Arthur was one of those guys that kind of depended on his power to come through.
Right.
Fought this a little different, Scully.
I mean, honestly, like I can say honestly, I worked very hard with him for all these years on the jab. And, and I learned as a kid, I was always told the jab is the most important punch. Like that's just the way it is. And then as I got older, I realized how much. And Arthur was not a jabber, like you wouldn't say his jab didn't stand out. Like with Larry Holmes, you could say, okay, his jab is his key. Winky Wright, his jab is his key. With Muhammad Ali, his key. But with Arthur, it was just a means to set up the big bomb. And so I was like, man, as a professional, you're going to, because when I started with him, he was still transitioning, I would say, to the pro games to a degree. So, I say, you really have to emphasize the jab a lot more. We have to really, because your power shots are incredible, but you're going to make them more of a surprise by jabbing properly and more frequently. And so I like to think I had something to do with the improvement. Yeah.
And it's also, James, it's also was part of the Beterbiev evolution as well, as a pro fighter. Like, we threw him into the deep end early, and whether it was with Tavoris Cloud or Campillo, like he fought some major guys and he hadn't had double-digit amount of fights yet. You know what I mean? Like it was really, he was doing this before, I guess, you could say Usyk or Lomachenko were doing it, like he might have been around the same time. So, I think he never, he's blasting guys out. never saw the reason, never understood. And then John and I both noticed something, and it was the night he won the title in Stockton, California, and where we were fortunate enough also to be able to hang out with Yaki Lopez, who I'm sure you remember, and what a great guy, and he's still a dear friend till today. But we're watching Arthur fighting, and like I'm saying, these are the punches that were crushing guys before, and they don't look like they could stick a postage stamp, you know? Like, I mean, he was just tapping. I'm thinking, what's going on? What happened? You know, like, has he stepped up in class so much that now there's no more power left? Like, what's going on? And he goes out in the 12th round and he decides, okay, I'm ending this. Bang! All of a sudden he's throwing these nuclear missiles, and he gets the guy out of there. And we asked him, well, why didn't you do that sooner? And he said, well, I wanted to see if I could go 12 rounds. So it was all part of his evolution of learning the pro game. And, you know, now he's back to not wanting to go 12 rounds anymore. So that's, you know, he's focused on what the skill set is. And if you notice in the fight with Joe Smith, he got on his bike, started moving, you know, he waited for the dust to settle before he did anything. So I think nothing can teach you about a pro experience like pro experience. And you know, once he saw it and got the feel of it, and good camps and getting good advice and being surrounded by boxing guys. And I say this with all pride, is that none of us around him are yes men. You know, we're not there to be yes men for him. You know, we joke with him, we have a good time, but when we talk to him, it's about boxing and what's good and what's bad. And he listens and he's evolving, and that's the fighter you're seeing now. Scully, would I be correct? Would that be accurate?
Oh no, 100%. And I cut out there a little bit, but I think you told the story how what he said about the 12th round against when he won the title, and you know, we thought, you know, he's going the rounds, you know, he can't catch the guy, and then he told.
I think he has a problem with his internet.
Yeah, I'm gonna let you guys go here in a minute. I promised Scully I'd keep it. There you go.
Are you back, Scully?
Now we can't hear him now. But what I want to ask you guys about is he wants to go undisputed. I already mentioned the jab. And you know, we saw what how Bivol handled Canelo, as a boxer, not as a puncher,
right?
So,
I hear you now.
Okay, so what is your plan against more of a boxer like Bivol in an undisputed match?
Go ahead, Scully.
I mean, you know, we're gonna watch the films, and that's something that we do. Mark is always watching the films and trying to break everything down, which is a good tool. You know, I think we're trying to work on things where he can track guys down. You know, like he puts tremendous pressure on. Like, to be within the ring with him 12 rounds, and all the guys tell me, the sparring partners always say, like, he's just there all the time. Like, he's in front of you and he's suffocating you. He's like suffocating the life out of you. And, you know, I think we need to execute a few additional strategies and techniques to cut the ring off and get things done. But I'm very confident that will happen.
My biggest fear, James, is that, you know, Canelo's got the Triple G rematch. And in this case, I'm pulling for Triple G. Like, we need Triple G to win in the worst way possible. I mean, he has to win this fight, because if he loses to Canelo, Canelo is going to exercise the rematch with Bivol, and that's going to take us, you know, that'll take us into the end of next year. And that's not good. That's not right. Because if he fights Triple G now, then the possibility to fight Bivol in May, and then we won't be on the docket until the end of next year, and I hope it doesn't have to wait that long. I think Canelo would like it to wait that long, but you know, we don't want it to wait that long, and Bivol would like it to wait that long, but I hope we can get it before then, because technically that should be the fight to be made. You know, you have to almost think that Canelo might not have even deserved a rematch in that fight, but because of who he is, I'll give him the shot.
Finances. We know it's all about the business of boxing, you know. So, we understand that. But Scully, I will. I'm going to have to give you a plate of crow on one thing, though, because I told you that Canelo would never fight Arthur. He would always fight Bivol first. There was never any doubt in my mind that you know, the powers to be. But hey, thank both of you guys for joining me tonight. Russ, why don't you give us some final thoughts? I might get in touch with you to get a few numbers there. You were speaking of some older fighters that I'd like to get on the program. So, any final thoughts and where they can find you and so forth?
Well, listen, Scully joins us, and we do a podcast every week called "Calling Russ Anber" with Matt Casavan. We do that once a week from here in Montreal, and we get Scully on. He's one of our regulars on the show. And I don't have Facebook, but I've got Instagram and Twitter, and it's just my name, Russ Anber, and that's where you can reach me. And the one thing I wanted to mention earlier, James, when you said your age compared to my age, the one thing that I'm proudest about most is because I got to start so young as a trainer in boxing because of Vinny Curto. I'm the last living connection, or last active living connection, to the trainers of the past, the greats of the past, the Freddie Browns and the Ralph Citros and the Ray Arcells and the Dundees and all those guys. I got to meet and know all those guys, and everybody who's actually active today in boxing, you know, didn't. You know, they started too late, but because I started so young, I was able to meet and know these guys. And it when I go into a big fight, I always think of how would they have reacted? How would they have conducted themselves? How would they have carried themselves? And that's what I try to do. So that means a lot to have started early and know those guys.
Hey, thank you so much, Russ. We appreciate everything you've done for the game, and I look forward to having you back on the program.
Thank you, brother. God bless.
Scully
frozen.
Well, Scully, give us your last thoughts before you freeze up again.
Yeah, I was frozen. Hey, listen, as always, I'm super happy to be here, and it's cool being here with my guy Russ. And you know, we go back a long ways, and me and you go back a few years now, James. And so the friendships in boxing are great. It's one of the best parts of the game. And anyone who's wants to reach out, I'm always on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Iceman John Scully. And you know, if you want to talk boxing, I'm there.
Hey, appreciate you guys. You guys have a great night.
All right, guys.
Yeah. See ya.
Yeah. Thank you guys for joining us tonight. Like I said, a very quick show. Just wanted to get some insights in with Team Beterbiev, and look forward to talking to you again. Looking for K9 to be back July 12th, I believe it is. But have a good holiday, and look forward to talking to you again next week.